to say, Real Housewives of Potomac, take notes. Take notes. This is how you do a slide in the DM storyline. This is how you do fun, light tea and shade and a kiki. Take notes, Potomac, because in my opinion, Atlanta is back. If they keep it light, if they keep it fun, then I think that they can continue to do well. I hope the season stays fun and light and talking about KFC and this, that, and the third. But let's just get into it, okay? So first top off, Martell and Sheree. Okay, or Sheree, she by Sheree, Martell and Sheree. I think, and I think the majority of us also think, that this is a fake relationship. I think that they went into it as a PR stunt. I think that they both went into it for clout and for storylines. I think that Martell really thinks that he can cross over, if that makes sense. Like, we know that he's on Love and Marriage Huntsville on OWN, but to be on Bravo is a different type of crossover situation. And I think that Sheree, she by Sheree. I think that Sheree is just really sad. I think she really needs to work on herself. I think she's really sad. I would have loved if she would have came into this season single, working with like a therapist or a love coach, and then we actually got to see her go on real, authentic dates with real guys, not these like reality crossover guys who are here for clout, who are just here trying to get something. I would love to have seen her like actually living that life. What is it like to be, not that she's old by any means, but an older woman at her age, empty nest, built this beautiful house and all of this, that, and the third, had been divorced, had dated a guy who was in jail. What does her love life look like now? What does that look like now? I think I would have loved to see that more than anything. And I think she's just on the defense, absolute defense. It was really gross and really weird that like straight out the jump, he was like, oh, who's at the door? And it was like that gorgeous chef. And he was like, oh, I thought it was a threesome. Like, what? Where did that come from? Like, you're just starting to see this guy. You're on camera with him, and he's talking about, I thought the person at the door was somebody that you're bringing in to have a threesome with. Gross, whack, weird, disrespectful, nasty, don't want to see it, not here for it. Also, zero sexual chemistry between Sheree, she by Sheree. I always want to say Sheree and Martell. I need to call him Martella since he's out here trying to fight women, which we saw with him and Kenya at the end, and always in some woman's business, Martella. But zero sexual chemistry. Like, I don't think anybody on this planet is buying the fact that these two are actually in a relationship. Bought, paid for, weird, and bizarre. So miss me with that. Okay, now let's get to Kenya. I like Kenya and Roy. There's also been rumblings that he's a rent-a-man, this, that, and the third. I don't think so. I think it's pretty genuine. I like the little bit of Kenya and Roy that we saw. I want to see more of that. Kenya is her messy self. She's bringing it, but she understands the assignment. And this is what I meant by take note about doing a person sliding in the DM storyline, because the stakes are so low with it, just opposed to what happened in Potomac with Ashley being like, oh, Chris Bassett slid into my DM. Chris is a whole married man. He was also replying to an Instagram story because he was promoting where he worked for. And I actually think he doesn't work there anymore because everything that happened and everything. So to be like, he's sliding in my DMs is so treacherous and dark and evil, versus Kenya being like, oh, he slid into my DMs, whatever, it's cool, when the stakes are so low. Like, Sheree and Martell aren't even official. They're not together. And apparently Martell slid into Kenya's DM like way before they even started dating. So who cares, So that was the type of light shade, slide into my DMs, what's up, like what's really good storyline that I think is fun and interesting, that's not trying to destroy a man's life and destroy somebody's career and tear up a marriage, because there's no marriage to tear up. Do you see what I'm saying? Now, his response to me is very telling, because what I think is he was probably DMing a lot of people saying, who's going to take the bait? And Sheree was the one who took the bait. He was probably shopping around. Let's do a fake relationship. Let's do a fake this, that, and the third to a lot of people. And she was the one who probably just ended up responding to the DM and taking the actual bait. It's like when an F boy is, it's 1:00 in the morning and he sends a mass "you up" text, and just whoever takes the bait is the one he's going to go and bang that night. That's what it seems like to me, and that's why I feel like he got so defensive in his feelings, not because he actually wants to date Kenya, but because he was fishing for the come up. See what I'm saying? Okay. Now let's talk about Kandi. I love Kandi, not just for my namesake, because we're both Kandis, but I love her. I think she's great. I think she's a great housewife. I think she's fierce. I think she's amazing. But I think she's going through it. I think clearly there is trouble in paradise at home. Things are going on with little Todd Tucker, okay? Let's talk about little Todd Tucker and Kandi's situation. I think, and I don't want this to be true because I like families and I like marriages and I want them all to work, but I think that Kandi and Todd's marriage is fundamentally off. There's something fundamentally broken with it. What I mean by that is I think that Todd is not secure in his own manhood and his own self and his own enoughness. And as long as you're not secure in yourself, you're always going to be windmilling and fighting for your value, proving your worth. And I feel like he sees Kandi as his competition and he doesn't see her as his partner. And I think that is the biggest reason why they're having so many problems. I think he puts up a good front, like he is supportive, but I think he's also resentful that she is so successful in producing and music and writing and acting and commercials and reality TV and all of that stuff, right? And I think that his manhood is very threatened. Think about what happened when they started dating. Mama Joyce is like, he's an opportunist. Why did you have to give her a lemon? He's a lemon, all of this stuff. He's a lemon, and Kandi made lemonade out of him, and like all this, that, and the third. And the whole prenup situation, remember, they almost didn't even get married because she was like, I'm not marrying with you at a prenup. Like, don't you know who I am? I'm worldwide, baby. So I think that and I don't think Kandi does this to him. I just think that he does it to himself, where he feels very emasculated and he's always trying to prove his value and prove his worth instead of just being of value and instead of just being worthy and instead of just being enough. And that's why they keep having this friction. And I really think in his mind, he views Kandi as competition. That's why it's like, oh, you're never home, you're working too much. That now all of a sudden he's never home and working too much to prove that he's booked and he's busy. You know what I'm saying? I think he's in competition with her, not in a partnership with her. And that's where the friction is. And I think Kandi's really going through it this season. You can see it. She's not happy because I don't think she's happy at home. I think he was dead wrong for when she had the meeting at 11 a.m., all of a sudden, well, you can't come because I can't move anything. But then when one of his writing partners, whoever else he's working on the film with, has a conflict, oh, it's cool, let's just reschedule, no big deal. And I agree with what she was saying. He wanted to create the narrative like she was the problem. She was the one blocking everything. She was the one doing this, this, and this. When you're able to be flexible for everybody else except for your own wife, that's him making her the problem. Do you know what I mean? So I think she was dead right on that. And I'm going to tell you what I think. I'm going to read between the lines, and I want to know what you guys think. Let's put on our candy cane critical thinking hats, okay? And let's read between the lines on this. When Kandi said, Todd has all of these films that he's written, this one he's writing, and he wants me to produce this one, but I have so many other things going on. You know what that actually means in my mind? It means that Todd wants Kandi to pay for it. And she doesn't want to. And I think that's where the friction's coming from. Because when you are an executive producer, and then you also can be a producer, whether it's a TV show, whether it's a film, whether it's a series, whatever it is, those are the people who are paying the money. Usually it's the executive producer who's putting up the money, And then you have the quote producers who actually produce the show, produce the film, X, Y, and Z, right? I think that little Todd Tucker wants Kandi to pay and fund for the film, and she doesn't want to, and that's where they're having conflict. And then he also wants to use her name in order to boost it. Because it's one thing for little Todd Tucker to do a film. It's another thing for Kandi Burruss to do a film. And that's just what it is. It's a thing. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's where they're having the problem. And she's being kind. Oh, he wants me to produce it, but I don't have time. No, he wants you to pay for it, and he wants to use your name. You know, if I say I'm in a movie with Meryl Streep, that's going to be a different type of movie than if I'm with Jane Doe. Do you see what I'm saying? So I think he wants to really use her to make a name for himself. And I bet you Kandi is more like, well, listen, little Todd Tucker, you know, you're coming at me every single day about how hard I work. Why don't you go get it yourself? You fund the movie. You do this, that, and the third, you know? Since you're always up in my face about my working and all of this stuff, you know, who's paying the bills? Who's paying the mortgage? Who's keeping the light on? Her KFC commercials, you know what I'm saying? Those are paying the bills, okay? Not your little indie project. Let's just call a thing a thing. So I think his ego is bruised and his feelings, and I'm concerned for their marriage because they may stay married, but it doesn't mean that they're happily married. You know, just because you're married doesn't mean you're happy. And there's a lot of cracks showing in that marriage. And I feel really, really bad for Kandi. I think she gets a lot of guilt. I think she gets a lot of manipulation. I think she gets a lot of gaslighting. Like having her little boy Ace call her in the confessional, being like, I want you to help me. And it's just like, hold up. Mama is at work. Let mommy focus at work. This is not an emergency. And then when mommy is home, let her be 100% present and with the child, you know, but making the mom feel some type of way for going out there and getting the bread for the children to eat and the money and this, that, and the third, and then traumatizing the kid with having to call the mom, to me, it's just manipulation under the guise of, being there for the kids and you're a bad mom. No, it's just manipulation. It's manipulation all the way around. You know, she's not leaving the kids by themselves in like an alley. You know, they live in a freaking mansion with probably like 20 nannies. Not, you see what I'm saying? Not that takes the place of the mother, but I just found it to be extremely manipulative. That makes sense. Okay. Let's move on to, another thing about Kandi. So a couple of things. I think that this season, Kandi is really going to earn the check. And what I mean by that is people love to say, and I don't say this because I personally I love Kandi just all day long. She's boring. You know, she's just a favorite. Why is she so highly paid? She doesn't bring anything to the show. She's so boring. Blah, 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 blah. Well, I think now that don't forget, wasn't it announced that Kandi is obviously like the highest paid housewife and how much money she was making? She's going to earn that check this season. I think all of the girls, whether they are on Kandi's side or not, I think all of the girls probably feel some type of way. There's probably a little jealousy there. And so they're coming for Kandi. They're coming for her. They're like, you know what? You make the biggest check for lots of seasons. You kind of sit on the fence until you have a big moment. But I love Kandi. She's amazing. But I think that she's like, all right, this season, I'm really going to step into that main character role. These girls are coming at me. I make the biggest check, and I'm going to show you why I make the biggest check. You know, come at me if you want to. But they were all coming for her, except for maybe, I don't think Kenya was coming for Kandi too much. And then Monyetta. How do we feel about Monyetta? I don't really know her. That I think, is she Usher's ex or somebody's ex like that? Not Usher's, somebody's ex like that. She seemed a little there to me. She was kind of tofu. She was there, didn't really give, didn't really not give. She was there. But we'll see what happens with like more episodes. I didn't watch last season, so maybe she was better last season, but this season she was okay. She was very filler. Very filler, but we all need those filler people to just talk to and keep it moving, okay? Oh, Neo's ex. Thank you, Tammy. Neo's ex. I was like, not Usher's. Neo. Thank you. Neo's ex. Thank you, Chocolate Chunks. Thank you. Okay. Now let's go. Okay, other part of this, okay? Thing that I absolutely love is the lightness and the freshness of it. I hope it doesn't go dark. I hope it doesn't go all the way down to hell. But I love the little clickbait stuff where Kandi was making the like reels about the other girls, and the other girls were all in their feelings because she was making like the clickbait stuff. Like I said, Kandi has a green thumb. She turns everything into a coin. You know, you come at her with something, she's going to do a web series. You call her a name, she's going to do a t-shirt line with the new logo on it. She turns you brought her KFC, she's doing KFC commercials. You know what I'm saying? She turns everything into money. And I love that. I love that it was like clickbait. I thought it was so funny and so fresh. Okay. Now let's talk about Marlo. I'm here for Marlo. I love that she has the boys back. I love that she's on her healing journey with a love coach. And I love how Marlo was just like, listen, I'm just going to fly under the radar. She's like, I'm going to get back in good graces with Kandi. I know who the HBIC is. I'm not going to step on any toes. I'm just here for this check and to look cute. Keep me out the mess. Let me sip the tea. And it is what it is, what it is, what it is. I loved Marlo. I thought she looked great. I love to see the growth. I love that they're showing the family counseling. I thought that was a really beautiful moment. And I love the boys. The boys are great. I love it. I love it. I love it. Let's see here. Okay, so is it Sonia? Sanya? Don't come at me, you guys. Sonia? Girl, you in danger, girl. You in danger, girl. Number one, you need to fire your brother-in-law as your assistant freaking yesterday. You never should have hired him in the first place. Because number one, listen, it looks like it's going to get pretty toxic real quick if it hasn't already. Anya says Gossip News. Sanya, whatever. You guys know who I'm talking about. Rock with me. Give me grace. Her. No disrespect. She's beautiful and great. But the sister, to me, girl, wrong road, sissy poo, wrong road. Number one, sister, I'm talking about Sonia's sister. Number one, sister, you and your family live in her house. Number one. Number two, she is providing you with money. Number three, she's providing your whole man of a husband with money. Okay? And let's talk about boundaries. The person who was actually lacking boundaries in that conversation was you, sister, not Sonia, because Sonia was talking to her assistant who happens to be your husband. But you were addressing her as if she was your sister talking to your husband. That's why you never should have hired him in the first place, because the sister, and I'm not talking about anything sexual or anything like that, but the sister will inevitably, and I tell you, this is just human nature. I don't care who you are. That sister will become jealous and resentful of the power and the time and the influence that her sister has over her man. Point blank, period. I would feel some type of way if my partner was my sister's assistant, and after time, you're going to feel some type of way because of the relationship you have with your sister. And then that's your man, but your sister has more influence, more power. She's paying him. He's at her beck and call. Any human being is going to feel some type of way about it. Not that it's right, but it's just human nature. And actually, in that instance, the sister was in the wrong. If you don't want your sister to have the authority to tell your husband to do his job, then you never should have agreed or asked, or however it came about, for your sister to hire your man. She wasn't asking your husband to do something. She was asking her assistant to do something. You're the person who's blurring the lines. And you as humans, you would become jealous. It's just a natural, normal human reaction that you would feel some type of way about it. That is a ticking time bomb. I hope that they were able to squash that before it blew up. Time will tell, we'll see. But I don't know who thought that was a good idea. I don't know who in the world. listen, if he can't get a job as a real estate agent, then let him get a job elsewhere. But don't give him a job as your assistant. Not, no. It's the family who is lacking the boundaries, not Sonia. And I feel really bad for her because I feel like she's in this tough spot where she clearly has been the backbone, the breadwinner for the entire family. Like she said, my mom was my manager, my dad was my manager, my sister was my hairdresser. They all live with me now. We're all under my own roof, and they all helped. And it's this weird sort of almost like indenturedness that she must feel, like a lot of people feel, whether they are athletes or singers or actors or whatever, when their family has supported them emotionally or in the business, then they kind of feel this like debt to support them financially that they should not feel. You know what I mean? You're not indebted to people just because they were good to you. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of times, sometimes they're not even good. You hear about all these stars who, like, the parents squandered the money and the brother went off and blew the stuff and X, Y, and Z or whatever the case is. But Sonia, you've done enough. They all live in your house. Couldn't be me. Hell no. That's a lot. Living with your entire family? That's a lot. Honestly, I feel like Sonia should just go ahead and get her own little My Weird Family spinoff on like Lifetime or a VH1 or something, because she just seems a little flat to me. Just a little flat. Not really bringing a lot, just a little flat, but she's cool. She's here, whatever. It'll be fun to dissect the family dysfunction. Fun for us. I hope probably not fun for her. Okay. But again, Sonia, if you ever listen to this, tell your family to get their own houses and tell your sister's husband to get a job. Because it wouldn't be me. You're not going to come at me talking crazy to me when you're sleeping in my house and I'm writing the check that pays for your husband and for you. Wouldn't be me. You're not going to disrespect me like that, talking about I don't have boundaries. No, sis, you don't have boundaries. Wouldn't be me. Let's move on to Courtney. I have a theory about what happened with Courtney and Kandi. Let me know what you think about this. First, I'll tell you what I think about Courtney. Then I'll tell you my theory on what really happened with Courtney and Kandi and why Courtney lost her damn mind and my girl Kandi was about to headbutt her. This is what I think really happened. Rock with me on this. First, Courtney, gorgeous but parched. Girl, you're thirsty as hell. Have several seats. Please sit down. Next. First of all, Sheree, come and get your friend. Get her a drink, get her a Diet Coke, get her a juice. She's thirsty as hell. She came on doing the absolute most. Beautiful woman, gorgeous girl, but please sit down and shut up. Like, please. Your energy is off. Your personality is off-putting. You're not the one. You know what she reminds me of? And I'm not body shaming. I'm not doing that. But you know who she reminds me of? She reminds me of, remember on Married to Medicine when Dr. Heavenly brought in, was her name Audra? I think her name was Audra. She was pregnant at the end. She had I think her husband was like Ed or something like that. He was cool. But Audra came in super hot. She was the one who brought the calculator to Quad's house, trying to shade Toya. Same, different body, different looks, same energy. Just coming in hot, annoying as hell. You don't know anybody. We don't know who you are, doing the absolute most. Sit down, shut up, and look pretty and call that a day, boo-boo, because your personality isn't it. Courtney, girl, bye. But this is what I think happened. And let me know what you guys think. Okay. So Courtney is all in her feelings because Kandi called her friend Dina and was like, yo, do you know this girl Courtney? Apparently she's saying that she and I are friends, but I don't know her. Do you know her? And Dina's like, oh, yeah, I know her. We might do a little business X, Y, and Z. So then, of course, Dina goes, yo, Courtney, my homegirl Kandi just called and was like, yo, you're going around telling people we're friends and I don't really know her like that. What's good? Now, the reason why I think Courtney is so in her feelings is because I think the person or the persons that Courtney said she was friends with Kandi with were the producers of the show. I think that during auditioning, during the vetting process, during whatever it was, I bet you Courtney was vying for a peach because they always do casting, whether they bring a new person on or not, they do casting. I think that Courtney was probably during the casting period, and I think that she probably thought her chances would increase. Thank you, DM Rocks. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. DM says, I feel like Sheree told Courtney to come after Kandi. I agree. And this goes into my theory on what happened. So I think that Courtney, during the whole period of casting to see if she would come on as a friend of, as a new peach, whatever the case may be, obviously she's a friend of, she obviously said, oh, I know Sheree. You know, our kids went to school together. You know, we're mommies. You know, we know each other that way. And she probably lied and said, oh, I'm friends with Kandi too. We are in the same circles. Girl, you mean you've attended the same parties that Kandi may have been at? That means that you are friends with Kandi and you're in the same circles? And the producers doing their due diligence probably said, bring, yo, Kandi. We have this girl named Courtney auditioning for the show. It says that you're friends with her. Are you friends with her? And Kandi was probably like, I don't know her. And I think that is what made Courtney get into her feelings when Kandi called her out. Because if you notice on the show, they never say who Courtney told that she was friends with Kandi with. They always say, oh, she just said that she was friends with Kandi. I think that's covering up for the fact that she told producers she was friends with Kandi. And that's why she was so in her feelings. And that's why she was going so ape crazy on Kandi, because she probably feels like, I could have had a peach, or you're jeopardizing my friend role on the thing, and you made me look like a liar to the producers. And then Kandi probably went around and said, well, who is this Courtney person? She saw her in the photo with Dina. I was like, oh, I actually know Dina. Let me check in with Dina to see if we can know who this person is. That's why I think Courtney was so in her feelings, because she exaggerated her relationship with Kandi to the producers trying to get on the show. And if you notice, her only ally on the show is Sheree. Why do I keep calling her Sheree? Sheree, who, as we know, is jealous and is big mad at Kandi because Kandi called her fake boyfriend Martell an opportunist and is calling her out. And Kandi actually knows how to run successful businesses. It is what it is. And I do think that there was an alliance between Sheree and Courtney, because that's how Courtney got her in on the show. Oh, I'm friends with Sheree. Our kids are together, blah, 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 blah. Do you see what I'm saying? Ugh, it's too much. It's too much. Thank you so much, DM Rocks. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you. So that's what I think is going on there. All right. What else do we have to cover? Okay, Martell Holt. Martell Holt, go back to Mississippi. Ain't nobody asked you to come to Atlanta. Go back to Mississippi. Nobody asked you. Okay? Nobody asked you. We'll have more on Martell, I feel like, next episode, when it really pops off between him and Kenya. Again, with the DMs, I think it was like a you up text. You know, who's going to take the bait? Who's actually going to want to, hang out with me? Who's actually going to want to do this with me? So we'll see. But those are my thoughts on the first episode. As always, I want to know what you guys think. Put it down below. And with that, let's take your candy cane questions and comments. Dun, 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 dun.